The whispered words freeze me in the hallway. The house alone is worth $1.3 million. I stand motionless, coffee mug suspended midair, as Evelyn's voice filters through the crack in my father's study door. My fingers loosen involuntarily. The ceramic mug slips, shatters against the hardwood floor. Hot coffee splashes my ankles, but I barely register the sting. The whispers stop. When the door swings open, Evelyn's startled expression transforms into that calculating smile I've grown to distrust over the past 3 months. At 54, she's nearly 20 years younger than my father, with a predatory elegance that suddenly makes perfect sense. "Gabriella, darling." Her voice shifts from hushed conspiracy to syrupy concern. "Let me help you clean that up. What are you doing in Dad's study?" I step over the broken pieces, coffee soaking into my socks. Evelyn gestures casually toward the desk where financial documents lie scattered. Property assessments, bank statements, transfer forms with blank signature lines. Just helping Raymond organize for retirement planning. Her manicured fingers gather papers with practiced efficiency. "Your father needs someone thinking about his future." I scan the 5-bedroom Sacramento home I've lived in for 5 years now, sacrificing my Ocean View San Diego penthouse and thriving communications career to care for him. Every bookshelf I've dusted, every meal I've prepared, every doctor's appointment I've managed flashes through my mind. And now, this woman who waltzed into our lives 6 months ago is planning his future. My stomach tightens with cold certainty. Evelyn has targeted our family for financial gain, and my father is the perfect mark. 7 years ago, I found Mom's cancer diagnosis letter hidden in the drawer of her vanity. The corners softened from repeated folding and unfolding. She'd kept it secret for months, trying to spare us all, but there was no sparing anyone in the end. "I'll handle it," Mom had whispered to me in her hospital room, gripping my hand with surprising strength. "Promise me you'll take care of your father when I'm gone." 5 years ago, I packed up my life in San Diego. The promotion I'd worked toward for 3 years, the friends who'd become family, the dating prospects that had finally started to seem promising. "It's temporary," I told everyone, including myself, just until Dad adjusts. Meanwhile, Maxwell built his investment firm in Florida. Valerie secured tenure at her university in Texas. They send birthday cards and make occasional video calls while I measure medications and fight with insurance companies and pretend not to notice when Dad cries in his armchair, staring at Mom's empty seat. "Why are you looking at property values?" I ask Evelyn directly, nodding toward the papers she hasn't quite managed to hide. Her smile tightens. "Raymond needs specialized care. This house is too much for you to manage." My hand steadies as I reach past her, picking up fallen documents. I notice the unauthorized transfer forms immediately, the sticky note with "Transfer ASAP" scrawled in Evelyn's handwriting. "I manage just fine," I say, holding the forms up. "What are these for?" She reaches for them, but I step back, scanning the paperwork. Partial property transfers, joint account authorizations, power of attorney forms. "Gabriella?" My father appears in the doorway, confused by the tension. At 72, Raymond Mitchell still stands tall, though grief has carved deep lines around his eyes. "What happened?" "She dropped her coffee, honey," Evelyn says, moving to his side. Her hand slides possessively around his waist. "I was just showing her how I'm helping organize our future." "Our future?" I repeat, unable to keep the edge from my voice. Dad's expression softens not toward me, but her. "She's just helping organize our future, Gabriella. Evelyn has experience with these things." The betrayal stings worse than the coffee burns. For 5 years, I've given everything to care for him, and in 3 months, this woman has positioned herself between us. "Dad, these are transfer forms for your accounts and property." His brow furrows briefly before Evelyn smooths it away with a gentle touch to his cheek. "Raymond, you know how your daughter worries. We discussed this, remember? About simplifying things?" I watch my father's momentary confusion dissolve into acceptance of her explanation. The realization hits me like physical pain. My father's judgment is compromised by Evelyn's influence. Whatever she's done to gain his trust has fundamentally altered our relationship. "Gabriella always overthinks things," Dad says with a chuckle that doesn't reach his eyes. "Your mother was the same way." The casual comparison to Mom from his lips, in defense of this predator, makes my vision blur with fury and fear. I've lost more than my career and my independence in caring for him. I'm losing him too. And I have no idea how to stop it. The next day, while thinking how to prevent the further damage, I accidentally pushed Evelyn's purse from the desk. The small orange prescription bottle tumbles from the purse, rolling across the tile floor of our kitchen. I freeze, car keys forgotten in my hand as I stare at the unfamiliar medication. The label faces away, but something about the shape, the amber plastic, the white cap sends warning signals through my body. Just looking for Dad's car keys. I call out, though Evelyn is upstairs helping him dress. My fingers tremble slightly as I reach for the bottle, turning it over to read the label. Lorazepam. High dosage. The room tilts slightly as my brain processes what I'm seeing. This isn't one of the supplements Dad takes for his mild arthritis or cholesterol. This is a powerful sedative one his doctor never prescribed. I slip the bottle into my pocket, replace the purse exactly as I found it, and grab Dad's keys from the hook by the refrigerator, where they've hung for 20 years. My throat tightens. The pieces click together with terrifying clarity. Dad's increasing confusion, his afternoon naps that leave him disoriented, the vacant look in his eyes during dinner. She's drugging him. I call Janet, my pharmacist friend from college, sending her photos of the pills. These aren't memory supplements, Gabby, she confirms 40 minutes later. They're strong sedatives typically used for severe anxiety or insomnia. Long-term use in elderly patients can mimic dementia symptoms, confusion, memory loss, cognitive decline. And if someone were taking these without knowing it? Janet's voice drops. They'd experience all those symptoms, plus fatigue, weakness, potentially dangerous drops in blood pressure. She pauses. Gabby, is this about your dad? Ka? The living room clock shows 2 p.m. time for the weekly video call with my siblings. I position my laptop on the kitchen table, the pill bottle hidden in my palm. Maxwell appears first, his Miami condo visible in the background, wearing a tailored suit despite it being Sunday. Valerie joins moments later, her glasses perched on her nose, a stack of student papers visible beside her computer. I found something disturbing. I say without preamble, holding up the pill bottle. Evelyn's been giving these to Dad. They're sedatives, not the supplements she claims. Maxwell sighs dramatically, loosening his tie. Here we go again. You're just jealous Dad found someone. You can finally get your own life back. Are you listening? She's drugging him. Valerie adjusts her glasses, barely looking up from the paper she's grading. Maybe you're overreacting? Nurses know what they're doing with medications. She's not his nurse, she's his wife of 3 months. And she's intentionally impairing his cognitive function. Dad seems fine to me, Maxwell says, checking his watch. A little forgetful, but he's 72. The realization hits me like a physical blow. They want this. They want someone else handling Dad so they can avoid responsibility. They see Evelyn as their escape. Who's that? Dad's voice comes from behind me. I turn to find him in the doorway, staring at the computer screen with confusion. Is that one of your friends, Gabriella? Dad, it's Maxwell, your son. Dad squints at the screen. Maxwell? You look different. The silence on the video call stretches uncomfortably until Valerie mumbles something about grading deadlines and Maxwell mentions a client meeting. The call ends abruptly, leaving me alone with Dad's confusion and my growing fear. Over the next week, Evelyn's true intentions become increasingly transparent. She leaves brochures for luxury memory care facilities on the coffee table. She casually mentions how much upkeep the house requires, while eyeing Mom's antique china cabinet. Raymond might be more comfortable somewhere with professional care. She suggests one evening, her hand possessively stroking his shoulder. This place has so many valuable things that could be damaged. I spend that night checking Dad's financial accounts I've managed for 5 years. 3 have been accessed by an unknown device. 2 show pending transfer authorizations I never approved. The next morning, I find Mom and Dad's wedding photo missing from the living room. After searching the house, I discover it wrapped in newspaper, hidden behind Christmas decorations in the garage. When I rehang it, Evelyn remarks that clutter confuses Raymond's mind. Her hints become less subtle daily. You'll need to find your own place soon, she says casually over breakfast. Raymond and I need our privacy as newlyweds. My phone buzzes with a text from Maxwell. Stop making waves. Dad's life is finally settled. I sit on the porch swing that evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors Mom used to love, feeling more alone than I have since her funeral. Then my phone rings, Uncle Daniel, Mom's older brother. I got your message, he says, his gruff voice immediately comforting. Tell me everything. For an hour, I pour out every detail, the sedatives, the financial transfers, the gaslighting. Instead of dismissal, Uncle Daniel listens intently, asking specific questions about timelines and documentation. "I believe you," he says finally. "This sounds like elder abuse and financial exploitation. I'm coming down from Oregon this weekend. Your mother would never forgive me if I didn't help protect Raymond." For the first time in weeks, I feel something beyond fear, a spark of hope. As I sit on my childhood porch swing that evening, I wonder, should I confront Evelyn directly with what I've discovered, risking her accelerating her plans? Or should I quietly gather more evidence while protecting Dad from her suspicions? The direct approach might stop things immediately, but patience might allow me to build an ironclad case. What would you do when time feels like it's running out? A week later, the manila folder slides across the attorney's polished desk toward me. "Mr. Winter's face remains carefully neutral, but his eyes betray discomfort. "I thought you should know, Gabriella. Your father signed these yesterday." My fingers tremble as I flip through the documents. Power of attorney revocation, updated will, asset transfer authorizations. Each page bears Dad's unmistakable signature, slightly shakier than usual, but legally binding. When did they schedule this meeting? My voice sounds hollow, even to my own ears. Evelyn called Monday morning, said Raymond wanted to update his affairs. I closed the folder, attempting to control my breathing. "And you didn't think to call me?" Mr. Winters shifts uncomfortably. "Raymond specifically asked that we not inform you beforehand." The drive home feels like moving through fog. 3 separate real estate agents' cars crowd our driveway when I arrive. Through the bay window, I watch Evelyn leading them through the house, pointing at architectural features, gesturing expansively toward the backyard. Dad sits in his armchair, looking confused, while a 4th person towers over him, Maxwell. My brother's surprise visit sends warning bells clanging through my head. He never comes without an agenda. I enter through the side door, avoiding the tour. Maxwell's voice carries from the living room. "The market's hot right now, Dad. We could get well above asking price." I pause in the hallway, listening. "But this is our home," Dad says, his voice uncertain. "Your mother and I raised you children here." "It's too much for you now," Maxwell says. "Evelyn mentioned you fell last week." My heart drops. "Dad hasn't fallen once since I've been here." "I don't remember falling," Dad murmurs. "See? That's exactly what I mean. Your memory isn't what it used to be." I step into the doorway. Maxwell looks up, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Gabriella, perfect timing. We're discussing options for Dad's future care." Later that night, I catch movement in the dimly lit kitchen. Evelyn stands at the counter, transferring pills between orange prescription bottles. The sound of plastic caps twisting open and closed feels thunderous in the midnight quiet. I freeze against the wall, barely breathing. 2 for breakfast should keep him foggy through lunch, she whispers to herself. Maybe add another for the afternoon. My chest tightens with silent rage. I slip back to my room, writing everything in the journal I've been keeping since I found those first unfamiliar pill bottles. Each entry documents another piece of evidence, another crack in our family's foundation. Sleep becomes a luxury I can't afford. I drag a blanket and pillow into the hallway outside Dad's room, dozing in fitful bursts. Every creak of the floorboards jolts me awake. The constant vigilance leaves me hollow-eyed and jumping at shadows. When the phone rings, my heart races until I verify it's not another attorney or real estate agent. Evelyn takes care of that now. Dad snaps when I try to prepare his morning medications. The hurt must show on my face because he softens slightly. "You do too much already, Gabriella. Let someone else help for once." I retreat to the hardware store, returning with small security cameras that I install in the common areas while Evelyn is at her weekly hair appointment. The instruction manual warns they're motion activated with limited storage. I position each one carefully, angling them toward medicine cabinets, Dad's desk, the living room where financial discussions happen. The footage uploads automatically to my private cloud account. "This isn't dementia," Dr. Horton whispers after examining Dad during his checkup. She glances toward the waiting room where Evelyn sits flipping through a magazine. "Whatever's happening is reversible. I've seen this pattern before with over-medication." She squeezes my arm. "You're right to be concerned." Her validation releases something tight within my chest. For weeks, I've questioned my own perceptions, wondered if grief and exhaustion were making me paranoid. The confirmation feels like drawing a full breath after months underwater. The next morning, Evelyn leaves for her regular salon appointment. Dad sits at the kitchen table, staring into his coffee cup. Without her hovering presence, color has returned to his cheeks. His eyes seem clearer than they have in weeks. "Gabriella," he says suddenly, "why are you still here? Don't you have your own life to live?" The question strikes like a physical blow. After everything, does he want me gone too? "Because I promised Mom I'd take care of you," I say, the words catching in my throat, and something isn't right with Evelyn. Dad looks up, surprise crossing his features. Then something shifts in his expression, a flash of the sharp intelligence that characterized him before Evelyn entered our lives. "I've been having strange gaps in my memory," he admits quietly. "Yesterday I couldn't remember your mother's name." His voice breaks. How could I forget Eleanor's name? I move to his side, take his weathered hand in mine. "Dad." Sometimes I feel better when Evelyn isn't around to give me my pills. He glances toward the doorway, as though expecting her to materialize. They make everything foggy. Hope flutters, fragile but persistent. "What else, Dad?" "Maxwell keeps talking about selling the house. Says it's too much for me." Dad's fingers tighten around mine. "This is your mother's home. Our home. I don't want to leave." 3 days later, Uncle Daniel's battered pickup rumbles into our driveway. He's driven 12 hours straight from Portland, arriving with legal documents and firm determination in his eyes. "Your mother would have moved heaven and earth to protect Raymond," he says, unpacking his briefcase at our kitchen table. "I've drawn up a new dual power of attorney, requiring both your signature and mine for any major financial decisions." The contrast between Uncle Daniel's careful attention and my siblings' dismissal is stark. While Maxwell texts that I'm creating unnecessary drama, and Valerie suggests I try therapy for these paranoid episodes, Uncle Daniel reviews every piece of evidence I've gathered. Dr. Horton conducts comprehensive cognitive testing, confirming what I've suspected. When properly medicated, Dad shows no significant impairment. "Your father has full capacity when not over-medicated," she writes in her official assessment. "No indication for memory care placement at this time." With each small victory, I stand taller. My voice grows steadier when challenging Evelyn's suggestions. The woman who arrived in our home as a conqueror now watches me warily. Uncle Daniel and I secure Dad's most important documents in a safety deposit box at the local credit union. As we drive home, I reveal my latest Discovery security footage, showing Evelyn and Maxwell in heated discussion on our back patio. "The perfect target," Maxwell had said, gesturing toward Dad through the window. "We split the profits after the sale, 60-40. 70-30, Evelyn countered. "I'm doing all the hard work." Uncle Daniel's face hardens as he watches the footage on my phone. "We've got them." That evening, I make an announcement over dinner that causes Evelyn's fork to clatter against her plate. "I'm planning a special 72nd birthday party for Dad next Saturday," I say brightly. "I've already invited 30 guests, including old colleagues from the university." I smile directly at Evelyn. "Maxwell and Valerie are coming too." "Won't that be wonderful? The whole family together again." The panic that flashes across her face confirms everything I need to know. Unsturdy, I set the final place card on the dining table with hands steadier than they've been in months. Every detail of Dad's 72nd birthday party has been arranged with surgical precision, not just for celebration, but for confrontation. Uncle Daniel just texted. "He's 10 minutes out with the paperwork," I tell Dr. Horton, who adjusts his bow tie in the hallway mirror. At 74, he's been Dad's physician for 20 years, long enough to know what's at stake. And Raymond's cognitive function? "Doctor." Horton asks, his weathered hands organizing medical files in his leather briefcase. "Better every day since I've been managing his medication again." I check my watch. Mom's gold timepiece, that's become my anchor. 3 full days without Evelyn's supplements. He recognized Mrs. Calloway from across the street this morning and remembered her husband had knee surgery last year. In the living room, Dad straightens a row of framed family photos, humming a Sinatra tune. The clarity in his eyes reminds me of the father I've been fighting to protect. When he notices me watching, he winks. "Security cameras?" Dr. Horton whispers. I nod. "All working. Footage backed up to my cloud account hourly." The doorbell rings. Dad moves with purpose toward the entrance. No shuffling or confusion. When he opens the door to his oldest friend, Frank, he doesn't hesitate before naming him and clapping him on the shoulder. "Frank, how's that granddaughter of yours doing at Stanford?" Frank's surprise at Dad's lucidity confirms we're on the right track. I exhale slowly. Attorney Thomas arrives next, his presence deliberately casual, portfolio tucked discreetly under his arm. We exchange knowing glances as he accepts a glass of punch. The party builds momentum, 28 guests filling our home with conversation. I'm pouring coffee when Maxwell arrives 40 minutes late and with an unexpected companion in tow. "Sorry we're delayed," Maxwell announces, not sounding sorry at all. "Traffic. This is Clifford Jenkins, Dad's real estate advisor." The stranger extends his hand, portfolio bulging with documents. My stomach tightens. "Advisor for what property?" I ask, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Evelyn materializes at Dad's side, fingers curling possessively around his arm. "We'll discuss that after cake, dear." The dining room falls silent as Maxwell taps his water glass after dinner. Dad sits at the head of the table, birthday candles still smoking on his half-eaten cake. "I have an announcement," Maxwell declares, straightening his tailored blazer. "Dad has signed over full authority to me. The house will be sold next month, and the proceeds will help fund his care at Oakwood Village." Murmurs ripple through the gathered friends. Uncle Daniel catches my eye from across the room, giving me the slightest nod. I've anticipated this moment for weeks. Evelyn's red lips curve into triumph. "Gabriella, you should start packing your things tonight. The new owners want possession quickly." Frank stands. "Raymond, is this what you want?" Before Dad can answer, Evelyn interrupts. "We've discussed it thoroughly. Haven't we, darling?" She slides a glossy brochure toward me across the table. "Luxury senior living at Riverside Meadows," the cover proclaims in elegant script. The room swims momentarily as I weigh my options. Should I expose everything immediately, potentially creating chaos for Dad at his own birthday party, or wait until guests leave for a more private confrontation? Clifford unfolds legal documents on the table. "If we could just review these transfer agreements." I excuse myself, step onto the back porch, and make 3 brief calls. When I return, Uncle Daniel is already explaining the situation to the assembled guests. "Raymond and I executed a dual power of attorney last Tuesday," he says, sliding documents from his briefcase. "Any financial decisions require both my signature and Gabriella's. The documents Maxwell claims to have are nullified by this filing." Dr. Horton places medical records beside the birthday cake. "I've been Raymond's physician for 2 decades. These tests from Tuesday show completely normal cognitive function when he's properly medicated." Attorney Thomas approaches Clifford. "I'd advise against proceeding with any property transfer. The legal problems with what's being attempted here could constitute elder abuse charges." Evelyn's confident smile falters as I connect my phone to the television. Since we're making announcements at Dad's birthday party, I have one of my own. The security footage plays in high-definition Evelyn in the kitchen at 2 a.m., transferring pills between bottles, carefully relabeling them. "Those are supplements," she stammers, her voice rising. "For his memory." "Diazepam isn't a memory supplement," Dr. Horton replies. "It's a sedative that can cause confusion and impaired judgment when misused." Maxwell edges toward the door. "Evelyn assured me Dad wanted this arrangement. I was just trying to help." I turn up the volume as the recording continues. Maxwell and Evelyn in the kitchen 3 days ago. Voices clear through the hidden microphone. "The house alone is worth $1.3 million. Maxwell says on screen, "Dad's the perfect target. We'll split the profit after the sale." The room goes completely still. Valerie, who has remained silent throughout, picks up Maxwell's phone from the table, where he left it moments ago. Her hands tremble as she scrolls through text messages. "Dad's the perfect target. We'll split the profit after the sale," she reads aloud, her voice breaking. The exact same words, the exact same plan. As the evidence mounts, Evelyn's mask slips further. Her fingers clutch her purse, the same one where I found the sedatives, the first piece of evidence that started it all. This birthday party has become exactly what I planned. Not a celebration, but a reckoning. The whispers stop when I place my evidence portfolio on the coffee table. Through the silence, I notice Maxwell's fingers drumming against his thigh, Evelyn's throat working as she swallows hard. Even with 30 pairs of eyes watching, she attempts one final, desperate play. "Those medications were doctor-recommended supplements for Raymond's confusion," Evelyn says, her voice higher than normal. Her hands tremble as she reaches for my father's arm. "Tell them, honey." I watch Maxwell scan the exits, his expensive suit suddenly too tight across his shoulders. The real estate agent, Clifford, backs away from the stack of papers on the side table, shaking his head. This is all a misunderstanding, Maxwell announces, stepping forward with forced confidence. We're trying to help Dad. Gabriella's been overwhelmed with his care. Evelyn leans close to my father's ear, her lips barely moving. She's trying to control your money, Raymond. Don't let her. Dad frowns, looking from her to me with the clarity I've safeguarded these past 3 days by personally monitoring his proper medication. Clifford retreats further, clutching his briefcase to his chest like a shield. I won't be proceeding with any paperwork today, he mutters. I square my shoulders and lift the portfolio. Weeks of vigilance, documentation, and strategic patience compressed into one leather-bound folder. My hands no longer shake. Dad invited you all here to celebrate his birthday. I begin, addressing the room filled with longtime friends, neighbors, and family. But you're also witnesses to something else. I open the portfolio, extracting the medical reports Dr. Horton helped me obtain. These show high levels of sedatives in Dad's system medication not prescribed by his doctor. I pass them to Uncle Daniel, who begins circulating them through stunned hands. These bank records show unauthorized transfers from my father's accounts to joint accounts recently created with Evelyn. More papers make their rounds, punctuated by gasps and murmurs. I pick up the remote and press play. The living room television flickers to life, showing night vision footage from the security cameras I installed. There's Evelyn, 3 nights earlier, carefully transferring pills between bottles in the kitchen at 2 a.m. What we're witnessing is elder abuse, medication tampering, and financial fraud, I say, my voice steady. Dad stands straighter than he has in months. I haven't needed memory care. I needed to be free from whatever she's been giving me. This stops today, I announce, meeting every eye in the room. My father is not for sale. A chair scrapes against hardwood. Valerie rises, her academic composure fractured by shock and shame. She crosses the room to stand beside me, finally seeing the truth I've been shouting into the void for months. The living room falls silent, except for the ticking of Mom's antique clock. The birthday cake sits uncut on the dining table, surrounded by cheerful decorations that now feel absurdly out of place. Family photos watch from every wall, Mom's smile preserved in dozens of frames, witnessing this moment of reckoning. Dad slowly removes his wedding ring, the gold band Evelyn insisted on during their courthouse ceremony 3 months ago. He holds it out to her, his voice stronger than I've heard in weeks. Our marriage was built on lies. Take it. Evelyn's mask finally slips completely. The calculated charm vanishes, replaced by naked fury. You all think you're so clever, she hisses, snatching the ring. This house is worth a fortune. The art alone would fund my retirement. Gabriella gave up everything to care for me, Dad responds, standing taller with each word. What did you sacrifice, Evelyn? Besides your integrity? Maxwell edges toward the door, but Dad moves with surprising speed to block his path. You were willing to sell your mother's home? He says, his voice breaking. The home she loved, where she raised you. For what, a percentage? Raymond, I can explain. Maxwell begins, but Uncle Daniel interrupts. I've contacted the authorities about elder abuse and fraud, he announces, phone still in hand. They're very interested in speaking with both of you. The remaining guests watch in stunned silence as Evelyn's composure collapses entirely. I wasted months on this old man, she shouts, flinging the ring against the wall. Playing nurse, listening to stories about his precious Elizabeth, waiting for the payoff. 2 police officers appear in the doorway, directed by neighbors who heard the commotion. As they lead Evelyn away, reading her rights, the birthday party dissolves into shocked conversations and hurried departures. Later, when the last guests leave, Dad sinks into his favorite chair, looking suddenly smaller. What happens to us now? He asks, his moment of strength giving way to uncertainty. Before I can answer, Valerie approaches, tears streaking her makeup. I'm sorry, she whispers, kneeling beside his chair. I should have listened. I want to help repair the damage I ignored. I look at them both, the future suddenly wide open and terrifying in its possibilities. The morning sunlight streams through Dad's kitchen window, casting golden patterns across the breakfast table. 3 months after Evelyn's dramatic exit from our lives, I watch Dad measure his own medication with steady hands, his movements precise and deliberate. Bridge club at 2, he announces, checking his pocket calendar. Then coffee with Phil and Gary from the veterans group. I smile over my laptop, where I'm finalizing a marketing proposal for a new client. Need a ride? Lucille's picking me up, He winks, says my Buick makes her car sick. My phone buzzes with an incoming message from my supervisor at Coastal Connections Marketing. Presentation looks solid. We're lucky to have you on board remotely. The arrangement still feels miraculous, challenging work I can do from Sacramento while Dad rebuilds his life. Mrs. Winters, the part-time caregiver who comes 3 days a week, has given me breathing room to reclaim parts of myself I'd forgotten existed. Dad pauses by the window, gazing at Mom's rose garden now blooming again after years of neglect. Your mother planted those pink ones the summer you graduated college. Instead of changing the subject as he once would, Dad pulls out a weathered photo album from the bookshelf. He settles at the table beside me, turning pages with reverent fingers. Here she is, he says, pointing to Mom standing proudly beside her roses, her smile radiant despite the illness that must have already been taking hold. She never could keep gloves on while gardening. Said she needed to feel the soil. I rest my hand on his shoulder, still surprised by these moments when grief surfaces without drowning us. You know, he says, turning the page to a family Christmas photo, your mother would be proud of how you protected our family. His voice breaks slightly. I'm sorry I couldn't see what was happening. You weren't yourself, I remind him, still. He turns another page. Next month, I want to visit Sedona. Your mother always wanted to see those red rocks. I grin. Road trip? Already mapped the route. He taps his temple. Still got my navigator's brain. The doorbell chimes, and Uncle Daniel arrives carrying a bottle of sparkling cider. Valerie follows, her arms full of groceries. Got those historical records you wanted, Ray? Uncle Daniel says, settling into what's become his regular chair since moving to a condo just 20 minutes away. Dr. Horton arrives last, his bow tie as impeccably knotted as ever. We gather around the table, not a formal celebration, just Tuesday dinner with the people who proved their loyalty when it mattered most. Uncle Daniel raises his glass. To family that's earned the title through actions, not just blood. I've learned who I can truly count on, Dad says, his gaze moving meaningfully around the table. Later that night, Valerie's looking at teaching positions at Sacramento State, Dad mentions as he carefully places Mom's photo on the mantle. Then, surprising me, he adds a framed photo of me from last Christmas. Side by side, the two images create a statement about what matters. As I watch Dad arrange those photos, I wonder about forgiveness. Should we eventually reach out to Maxwell, offering a path to redemption? Or are some betrayals too fundamental to repair, making a clean break the healthier choice for everyone? What would you do when a family member has shown who they truly are?